number order is $2.55, but they gave me $1.97.
What's up, everybody? We're definitely not a Panera.
Nope. Definitely not drinking coffee.
No Neumann Mike this time.
Darn.
But good enough. How's everybody doing? Hope we have a name now.
Yeah, we know we have a name now. All the other podcasts, I'm editing them, they're like, what's our name going to be? I'm like, dang it.
And it's what we like first thought of.
Exactly.
It's like how most things go. You know, it's like the first draft is it.
It's always the best one. Although I think the fourth mix of was it Thriller, I think, ended up being the mix, even though they did like hundreds of them. They literally had tapes, like, because back then you had stacks of these cassette tapes with giant reels, 90 of them stacked up, and they're like, listen to, like, oh, it's number 4. Like, how many mixes did you have to do?
Yeah. And then the engineer committed suicide.
Gosh.
You know, it's funny, it's kind of random, but I saw something recently about Freddie Mercury, and there was an interview where he said, I would have had a co-write on Thriller had I gotten my act together. So I guess he had co-written with Michael Jackson, and they just never finished whatever projects they were working on.
Oh, weird.
So, I don't know, that'd be interesting. Like, I'm sure there's, like, little demos, but they never finished anything. It'd be interesting to see a timeline where they finished stuff, where there was a world where Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson had several collabs together.
Somebody's living in that world.
It's probably, what was the gal's name from Fringe? Olivia.
Yeah.
Have you seen Fringe?
I've never seen Fringe.
Oh, I love Fringe, and I'm kind of glad that it's like a all-encompass. It's like it's over, and it's like its own world, you know. But yeah, you gotta watch it sometime. Although it's a commitment because it's a lot of seasons.
Is it? Like I had lots of friends that got into Lost, and then like I was like, I should do this, and there was like a ton of seasons. It's like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah, well,
it's too much now.
At the time, I'd only made. Like, my church was Heroes, so that was the only thing that was, like, Monday nights, like at 8, like, No One Bothers Rod. And that might have been part of the reason for a breakup at the time. I'm not sure. But that time, like, no one, you either, like, hung or, you know, you just leave me alone. But I didn't have time.
Watching Heroes tonight, and that's it.
I bought a TiVo specifically for Heroes because I started having to travel for work. At the time, I was like, and I only had it for that.
How much better nowadays we have it, because like you can just log in like, I'm gonna watch this show that I missed last week.
Yeah,
like I've been catching up on like all the Flash or whatever, and I think they did Elseworlds, so it was like a crossover between all of them, so I had like 8 shows I was behind on.
I still have, I think I might have watched part of an episode of Flash with Vince, and it's just not a kind of show that you can just jump into. So I'm like,
yeah, I'm
lost.
sure you'd be confused completely. However, the crossover is not too bad because they have to work between all the shows for that. So like they don't have anything that's going on in that season dealing with like that crossover, because they know that you can't watch, or most people probably aren't watching all 4 friggin' shows or whatever that it crosses over to.
Speaking of Flash, like, so we actually have some topics that Josh has been curating throughout the week. There's one of the topics is the Flash movie is not happening. Vince said he didn't know that it was happening. I just stay out of the DC universe.
I didn't even know they were making a movie for Flash.
The Ezra Miller, the actor that was in the actual Justice League movie, they had originally given him a Flash movie.
Yeah.
As they were giving like everybody movies at the time, and Wonder Woman just was made first.
Yeah.
They even had, obviously the Batman's coming out, which is not going to also have Ben Affleck, but we can get to that. But yeah, the Flash, I was not a fan of the idea of having Ezra Miller as Barry Allen in the first place. Like he was awkward in the Justice League movie, and not that I hated awkward, I just would have rather wished he would have been like Wally, or even Bart or something.
Someone who fits that persona.
I don't like changing persona, which is why I think Disney's Marvel does a really, really good job, because they might change storylines, but they get the essence of the characters pretty good.
Right.
It's funny you mention that because last night we're like halfway through the current season of The Punisher, and I didn't realize until last night that Billy Russo is the main villain in this season, is Jigsaw.
Yeah.
And I didn't...
You didn't know from last time?
Yeah, no, I just didn't keep track of it. Because I didn't actually really know Jigsaw that well. Like, after I started reading Wikipedia articles about it, I realized, like, oh yeah, he's in like some Spider-Man stuff too, and everything. Like, that makes sense. Although, that'd be crazy if Jigsaw showed up in like a Spider-Man movie.
That would be sweet.
Like, but like that Jigsaw, the Ben, what's his face?
I was actually hoping that the guy that D'Onofrio could show up as Kingpin. He had even said something in some tweet. I remember being like, "It would be sad if Kingpin never fought Spider-Man." I'd be like, "That would be sad."
Yeah, right.
Now that he's actually like a big movie like star too, like he's been in a bunch of movies. Was he in Jurassic Park or something too? Or not Jurassic Park? What was he in? He was in a bunch of.
Wasn't he Thor in Adventures of Babysitting or something?
I don't know. Was
Yeah,
he?
like he was Thor in like an old movie,
That's hilarious.
but not like an MCU Thor, like the actual God Thor.
Oh,
I don't something weird. Like someone made a meme about it. I was like, oh yeah, people had acting careers.
before this,
Trying to see what this Flash movie was supposed to even be about.
I don't think they got that far. If they did, nobody talked about it.
They named Flashpoint as a story.
possibility.
To one being more comedic in tone.
Well, I thought that was even going to be more of like a Batman movie because it would be like it would include Batman's dad, obviously, and the Joker, which would be his mom.
That would have been dynamic.
Yeah.
I will say though, in the Justice League movie, the one moment that was actually kind of like emotionally poignant was between Batman and the Flash. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't know much about the Flash, but when he was like so hesitant to be a hero, which I guess from what you said before is like antithetical to the character, like he was never a reluctant hero.
Yeah.
So in this storyline though, when he's a reluctant hero, Batman telling him like just say one person, like I felt like it was like actually good script writing.
Yeah.
For once.
And I would have actually like accepted that being either Bart or Wally, but like Barry Allen is pretty much like the DC Universe's Steve, like Captain America. So like
that's a completely opposite character.
Exactly, he is the one that's always good, that's always just, that always tries to do the right thing, that always has hope. You know, he's just like that good. You'd think it would be Superman, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's Barry Allen. And so like.
So in the DCEU or whatever's left of it, it's pretty much Wonder Woman. That's that.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, that.
It's to turn into her. I think that's part of the reason that movie was so successful, other than it just being well directed, was like it was refreshing because we've had like 15 years of like I don't really want to be a hero, and meanwhile like Wonder Woman's like make me a hero.
I was really not a fan in the beginning of Gal Gadot being.
Me neither, yeah.
Being her. She definitely rocked it though. I mean, like she did a good job, and made it her own. I mean,
It's definitely not the Wonder Woman I know, but
I mean,
it's a version I like.
Absolutely, I'd agree with that. But yeah, so Flash movie is not happening, and I am happy about that. Even though I'm also kind of sad that the DC universe is burning down to the ground.
Oh yeah.
Because I would have still watched whatever extra stuff that they made if they had made another Justice League movie to finish off the Darkseid idea. Like I would have watched that, even though like it wasn't very good.
It's kind of it makes me feel like you know that old saying that like what was it like creativity strives in confinement or something like that. Like confinement is like the friend of creativity or something like that. It's like when you have like confinements, it's like we have to be really really creative. And Patty Jenkins we got to see at YouTube talk about Wonder Woman, and somebody asked her like, "Were you worried about like making a good Wonder Woman movie?" And she was like, actually no, that's the one thing I never understood, because like literally DC has the holy trinity of superheroes, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Like tell me a year in the last 50 years that you haven't seen someone a kid show up your doorstep at Halloween dressed as one of those three characters. It's like, how do you mess that up? And it was almost like a little side jab at the other people who made Batman and Superman movies that didn't work out.
Exactly.
Like, how do you mess up literally the most well-known characters on Earth? They're like, you could show up in the middle of like an Aborigine village. Like, as long as they've had electricity for more than 10 minutes in their lifetime, they've seen one of those three characters.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's almost too easy, so they just kind of throw whatever at it. And then, meanwhile, Marvel, because they sold off all their best characters at the beginning, they were like, well, we got to make these B-level characters great. And then they took Iron Man, who I was loosely familiar with as a kid, like probably the most well-known hero as an adult.
I was never a big fan of him back in the day. I remember he was kind of an awkward character. I remember even loosely following some of the cartoon that he had in the late 90s.
Yeah.
It just wasn't very good. Like, I don't know. He just seemed like a jerk.
Yeah.
But like they make him like a likable jerk now.
Yeah.
Even in the comics, like recently, like he's been just a weirdo. So
Yeah.
like,
It's crazy.
yeah.
Have you watched the anime Iron Man?
Yes, I think I did.
I loved that because it was like it was kind of like if you took the Iron Man movie and then spread it across like 8 or 10 episodes. I forget how long it is. I was like, wow, and then you actually get to like kind of experience that long, like, you know, staying in a cave for, you know, however long, weeks, months, or whatever. I don't know, it was interesting, but yeah, I don't know, it's like almost, even though I didn't really love the Aquaman movie unless I'm like under the influence, because it is a spectacle. It's awesome to watch.
You were saying that it had like a lot of good effects in certain areas.
Effects, even the acting, if you muted it, it's great. You know, like it's like they spent all this money on all this stuff and they didn't like go back and like have a good script supervisor or something, like, because there's just stuff that contradicts itself within its own script, which is fine. I'm down for movies like that. It just didn't present itself that way. It was presenting itself as a very emotional movie. So the reason I bring that up though is because I feel like how Aquaman kind of has like a halfway point. Like he's not like a, you know, like a D-level character, but is not as well known as like Superman. But so I think there's a certain level of creativity there where they're like, okay, well, we can't have Seaman, obviously. So, like, you know, let's get like
Do you think they actually thought that through, like when they first made Aquaman? Like, let's do Seaman.
Probably. I mean,
I would think they would lean more toward like something that already exists.
Yeah.
Like, what did they used to call Aquaman?
I don't know.
I don't know. And then there's whatever that other dude that's the water guy. Namor or whatever.
Namor?
a Submariner?
Yeah.
Is that the same guy?
Yeah, Namor is Submariner, yeah.
Because I remember Submariner in the arcade games, the DC arcade games, and I actually picked him because he looked kind of badass at the time.
He's Marvel.
Yeah, was that the Avengers game?
Yeah, it must have been. So he's not in the DC games.
Anyway, he's the cooler version of Aquaman.
Exactly. He's got wings on his feet. That's kind of funny.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
He can fly.
And he dropped. There's a what was it? I forget what game it is. The Avengers game for Nintendo or for Genesis, or I don't know what system it was, but Namor drops off like power ups for you.
Oh, does he?
In the game.
I don't remember that one. I used to always play the Sega X-Men game.
Oh, yeah.
Which was like you were in the danger room or something. I can't remember, but it was. I still have it. Actually, I hacked my SNES Classic and put it on there just so I could play it. That and Turtles in Time.
I have it on. I have the cartridge, but I also have a Retron that I played through, and the Retron controllers are wireless, so the infamous cheat code doesn't work.
Oh.
So I actually like went to a retro store, found an original Genesis controller just to type in that cheat code.
Yeah.
Because you remember that one where you can like select the levels through the panels. It's so much better.
Yeah.
Because then it's that nostalgia without the time commitment.
Exactly. You're like, okay, there's a couple levels in there too that get annoying. You're like, oh, I hate this level.
I just remember how everything like felt like when you hit power-ups, it had that like glob sounds. Like, it was so satisfying.
Yeah, like Genesis, if you look up stuff, any information on Sega Genesis online, you will realize that Genesis had the worst sound of any of the consoles.
Oh, really?
Like creating the sounds was hard for people creating them. Plus, like they didn't have a lot to work with, like bit depth or whatever it was. But like that video game, actually, the music doesn't annoy me. Like any other video game on the Genesis, like I try to play anything, and it's just awful. Like it annoys me to death. Some odd reason, even Nintendo was okay with, like, but the SNES like nailed it with that.
I remember French baguette. I remember there was that bass line in, was it the Danger Rooms? Like bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It's funny what sticks with you. I guess also listening to like 60 hours a week of that music.
There's like a whistling sound that goes on in that game. Like,
yeah.
And like it always like creeps me out because like in the in some level there's like bad versions of you that are like floating around. Whenever you hear like that little noise, you know one's coming after you. I'm like, ooh, every time I hear it, like, oh, it's coming after me. Dang it. So things that stick in your head. We can move on to another topic. I saw the other day that Endgame was like going to be 3 hours long, and they had already tested it on people, and people were like, oh, people were enjoying it. It's like, dude, I don't give a crap. Like, I will watch a 7-hour Avengers movie. Like, I will sit through it. Maybe put an intermission. That'd be fine. But like, if you would have put like the last one with the new one together, I would have loved it the entire time.
We mentioned that off camera, microphone. I don't know. At some point, that like it would be really cool to have an intermission. Like, can you imagine like watching Endgame, getting to like a climactic point, intermission, go get snacks, come back, and then like finish out like this. I don't even say it's not even like the first era. Like, I don't know what you call this because there's the different phases, but this is like bigger than the phase. You know, it's like what's above, what encapsulates the first few phases.
Yeah.
You know, like, is it an era? I don't know.
Well, is this the end of third phase?
Aren't we in the
It's
fourth?
all on
be-
Google.
Is it? Yeah.
There's a whole list that has the phases.
I think that this is still third phase.
I don't know if they changed it though.
Yeah.
Find out.
I think maybe Spider-Man starts, the new Spider-Man Far From Home starts the fourth phase, I think.
I remember looking at that chart like years ago. I can't believe it's been like
Yeah.
a decade of movies.
I was honestly, because I had like anxiety issues a few years ago. I remember like looking at like the chart and being like, I don't know if I'll live to go see
Oh,
this
right.
movie. Like, I just having, I don't know why, like I just had a new daughter, I think at the time, and I don't know, my whole body went nuts just when, like, I'm gonna die. Like, so like,
That didn't
it's not funny
happen.
really, but I laughed about it. But
Yeah, it's better to laugh now than to think of how
it's like, I don't know if
grueling
I'm
it
gonna-
was to get through those
I
moments.
gotta make it to the Avengers 4.
Yeah.
At least you had goals.
I kind of like that idea though, because it's kind of I've said this before. For my adult life, it's like my Star Wars. Because I think I only became like actually knowledgeable about Star Wars in the late '90s when I was in high school because of the prequels, and it's not really a great place to start.
Yeah, that is not a good place to start the Star Wars.
But then, like, what was like a couple years after we graduated from college, like Iron Man came out, and so like for most of my adult life, it's just been following this journey of like this like thousands of characters and
Yeah, it's been 10 years. I mean, it's just celebrated 10 years. So it's
yeah,
pretty
well, I think
insane.
it's like
It's probably 11 now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Iron Man, I think, came out in 2008 because it wasn't. We moved to LA in 2008, and that's where we first saw it. Like,
Oh, wow.
LA, so I think it was probably May 2008.
There was a cool story. Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther, on one of the Black Panther's special features, was talking about how he remembers as a film student going to see Iron Man at a theater somewhere in LA or Hollywood, and Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau showed up, but not like it was an unannounced thing. They just showed up, and him thinking like someday that'll be me. And then he went on to direct like the most successful MCU movie.
Yeah, definitely. Didn't they get nominated?
They got nominated
Oscar?
for Best Picture,
Yeah.
like a non-CG category, like actual Best Picture thing.
Which is huge. One for Disney, for two for
Yeah.
superhero movies or action movies,
Yeah.
because that just does not get, it doesn't happen.
And I don't know if the rest of the world or country is like this, but there's a lot of people in LA that are arguing about it only being because it's a black film. Like, but you haven't seen the movie. It's like it's great.
It's a great movie.
And also, white people literally take over every other category.
I feel like though, like you just know that with the Oscars though, or whatever, where they're like, okay, we're giving this because this deserves it. Maybe not necessarily that it's the best movie on earth this year, but it deserves it. Like that movie,
Yeah.
it does. It deserves it.
Yeah.
To be honest. So-
Yeah, at least the nomination.
There's a point of this interview, or not interview, but this rant that they say the long runtime will limit the amount of screenings individual theaters are able to show in a single day because it's 3 hours long.
So it takes up like 2 blocks.
So instead of showing
movies.
6 showings in one day, it'll only show 5 or something.
Well, they'll like movie theaters know they'll make money, but they'll also lose money too in a sense. So I will not buy having the movie at their theater, just in logistics, like not even like going to the point of where people are already paying. Just ahead of time, they're like, oh, this might be a problem.
Though, like in any other movie, say it would be like a war movie where it was like 3 hours long, because I've seen movies like that were like super long, war movies or whatever. They know going into like having this movie at the theater, like this is going to make us money in the long run.
Yeah.
So like being scared of them not like picking it up everywhere, I'm not scared.
Also,
Yeah, this is saying like the Hollywood model is to have as many showings as possible
Yeah.
to increase box office potential.
That's true. However, I feel like since it's so big,
It's
they're giving it a little bit
Yeah.
more what they want to do.
I mean, Avengers has already generated so much money for them.
Well, yeah, the Avengers is like the movie industry's Beyonce. They could literally drop Endgame tomorrow, and it'll still do just as well or better if it launched in April like a schedule.
That is because whenever I edit these things, I find something silly that one of us says, and I name that like that's what the name
I
of
saw that.
Avengers.
What was it? I just saw the post today. What was the thing?
Oh gosh, was it Heathcliff is
Yeah.
way more street than Garfield was last
True
one.
though. Garfield's a basic bitch, but I love him. But Heathcliff, he knows how to survive.
Yeah.
He grabs that fishbone out of the trash can every intro.
single time.
He's a street cat.
Was it Avengers is
Avengers
Disney's Beyonce?
No, Avengers
or-
is the film industry's Beyonce. Like
Right.
literally, like because there's such a history with them, you know, like
They can also drop a movie with no promotion.
yeah, but they could do a 3-hour movie, 4-hour movie. They could have it like you have to stay there all day. Like I think people still go see it.
In the testing of the movie, Russo says that nobody left in the 3 hours that the movie...
Like to go pee or anything, or-
Nope. Yeah,
I
everyone
believe
stayed
it.
in their seats. So
I'd
he's
hold
like,
it.
that's a good sign, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
I believe it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, but I would also like when a group of us went to go see Infinity War. Like it was like we were going to a football game or something. We got like smashed before, but even then, I probably had to pee for like 3 hours. I just didn't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean,
too drunk to realize, but
we also watched that movie like 6 times. So
yeah,
Dang.
we
Like-
watched three times the opening weekend, like every day of opening weekend.
I don't even know how many times we've seen it now.
I saw it twice. So that I would love to see it more than that, but I definitely can't do that with having kids and whatnot.
yeah,
They
yeah.
all want to come with every single time.
I can't believe this is 22 movies in the making.
Yeah, and then how many shows and episodes and stuff.
Like my dad brought me, because we talked about Star Wars earlier. My dad had showed me Star Wars, and so when I was probably 8 or 9,
Yeah.
and so I remember being like, "Wow, it's 3 movies! Oh my goodness, we're gonna watch all 3 of these movies."
Yeah.
22 freaking movies. Be like, "All right, kids, buckle down."
Right.
Did you go
That
to
was the deal too, though. Like the three Star Wars movies at a young age was kind of the same feeling.
Well, in college too. My first year of college, one of my roommates brought in every Bond movie they'd made up until that time,
jeez.
which I think was probably 20.
There's a
I
lot
think
of
there's
Bond
probably
movies.
like 26 now.
I
Something
know
like
those
that.
movies by
Makes
heart
sense.
But like,
just because of my father.
we would watch them every single week, and you think about the spread in the time between Connery and even up to, I think at the time, which was Brosnan.
Rogers. or
I don't
Brosnan.
think it was the new. What's the guy after Brosnan?
It
I
wasn't
can see
Daniel
his
Craig,
face.
was it?
It was Craig.
Daniel
was it? Oh,
Craig,
Yeah.
Daniel Craig.
So like, imagine the amount of time between Connery and Brosnan. Like, is a long time. That's like almost 30 years.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we got these movies in 10. We got like 20 something movies in 10 freaking years.
I remember in high school I worked at Walmart and there was a huge sale, and then also you get that associate discount. And from my dad loved James Bond. I guess that was his Star Wars MCU or whatever. And they had a VHS box set of every film.
Yeah.
And I got it for him. And he was like, "What do I do with this?" It like takes up its own shelf.
What was the what is it? Oh, the Super Bowl had that TV spot. I still haven't watched that.
Yeah, it's super short. Like, it's very short. It has some new stuff in it.
for
There's already
Avengers.
people going through. It's hilarious
Yeah.
how many stupid YouTube videos people make over this garbage. Like, this is what
Yeah.
you missed, and what? Like, no, you didn't.
I
You
am
didn't miss
intrigued
anything.
by the visual of Tony and Nebula
Yeah,
together.
working on something.
So, right away it makes me think that now he was saved by Nebula.
Well, they were stranded together.
Yeah, they were
Oh,
at the end of the last
that's
movie.
weird because like
And-
he's like talking to his helmet and he's alone.
But
I didn't even realize that there was someone else with him.
because at the end of Infinity War, they were on Titan
Yeah.
together when
Yeah,
everybody
they-
else vaporized.
And it's only her and him.
And so, but that scene that you're talking about in the original trailer, I'm in my head. I'm guessing he just like went by himself to send a message to
Just took a
Yeah.
moment.
to Pepper because
They
like,
still have the plane from the Guardians.
yeah.
Right. So
and that's when he's talking about the fuel and everything. And so, or they don't have any fuel.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm just guessing that like she's either maybe we're gonna see her like listening in another room or something. But he's
There might even be more than just her there too.
yeah.
It could not.
There's that scene where she like puts a hand on the shoulder, but you can't see who it is.
Yeah. And these scenes could entirely not even be in the movie.
Yeah,
It's just hilarious.
I mentioned that to Boss Level 8. I was like, they could also be lying to us, like they did with the entire Infinity War trailer. And they're like, but Feige said blah, blah, blah. I was like, I think the Russos or Feige also said that the next Avengers movie wouldn't be mentioned in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Literally, like a highlight dialogue.
It's like
Endgame, you know?
the turning point of that movie is that dialogue Doctor Strange says.
I'm so
We're
glad.
in the Endgame now.
I'm so glad that Doctor Strange is kind of like the linchpin. Like, he's not necessarily the biggest hero in Infinity War Endgame, but he's definitely like one of the pivotal like components of it. And because before Doctor Strange came out, I remember telling Vince, like, I think Doctor Strange is going to be my favorite movie. It not necessarily was my favorite movie, but he's one of my favorite characters in the MCU.
Yeah.
Because I love that he got his clout through humbleness.
Yeah.
Which is like something very lost in lessons in society right now. But B, like, he ended up becoming so much more, infinitely more powerful through the humbling process, you know?
Yeah.
And now he's just a badass. Like, he literally can control anything.
Yeah. And I feel like he's not even gotten to the point, like, we're assuming he's, like, to the most powerful point that he's at, like, but I feel like he's nowhere near, like, comic book powerful, like.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm excited. I don't know if we talked about this last time, but we, since one of the last times we recorded, we found out that in Runaways, there's a direct tie into Doctor Strange in the current season. And I went back and I was like, man, why didn't I notice that? And I realized, so there's a deleted scene in the home videos of Doctor Strange that they recast someone so it fit in Runaways, so they didn't include it in the original in this Doctor Strange movie, because I guess at some point they realized they were going to include this in Runaways.
Yeah.
So it makes me excited to see if these Runaways characters are going to be in a future Doctor Strange movie now.
I would love that. I just don't see it happening. I mean, like, they had S.H.I.E.L.D. and they had... the only thing that's ever crossed over was Carter. I mean, like, she has kind of been in things after the fact.
Well, S.H.I.E.L.D., Sam Jackson and Lady Sif.
Coulson.
And Coulson, obviously. But
like, back into movies, though. I mean, like, not the other way around. Like, the movies touching the TV shows, the TV shows don't ever seem to touch the movies.
Without spoiling Runaways for you or anybody else who hasn't seen it, the second season, what happens in it, like, really implies that to move forward with this story, they're going to have to, like, go into the film, or at the very least have the film come to the show. Because it was like, you see something that, like, I don't know. I'll just leave it at that. Go watch Runaway Season 2. It's pretty exciting. People have described it as the MCU's OC, and I get that, but it's not so OC that I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
But it's exciting, especially because Doctor Strange is one of my favorite movies. So it's going to be exciting to see how he's gonna, like, how his vision, like, worked out.
I feel like they really didn't use Mads Mikkelsen very well in the bad guy role. I mean, I wish there would have been more to do with Dormammu or something. That's the only thing I didn't like. That the effects were amazing. I love Benedict. I love Wong even and whatnot. I
just like listening to people try to say his name, even though they say it in the movie. You would think, like, people would say Caecilius because he says his name in the movie.
Yeah.
That's how he pronounces it. But then you go listen to, like, YouTube videos and people are naming all
Slaughtering
weird
it.
things, like saying it all weirdly. Like, what's your deal?
Well, you know, like, it's funny how much with Batman, how many people and even TV shows and cartoons say Ra's al Ghul instead of Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, that was a big deal too.
It's so hilarious.
It's like growing up, I heard Ra's al Ghul from like people saying it, so I think it's ingrained in my head.
It's so weird that people fight that too. They're like, no, it's this. And I'm like, all right.
I'm the person that says no, it's Ra's. It's even funny if you watch Batman Beyond. Like,
just go whatever
someone
the
goes,
opposite.
Yeah, serious. If you watch Batman Beyond, like, at some point in time, he's like, the new kid that's Batman goes, "Oh, are you Ra's al Ghul's daughter?" She's like, "Actually, it's Ra's." A lot of people get that wrong in the cartoon.
That's funny.
Like, they actually put
they put that in the cartoon, and then it's funny even if you watch Arrow, because they even had talked about it when Ra's was in Arrow.
Yeah.
they talked about like, oh well, we try to get people who know Raish to say Raish in the show, and then people that don't know Raish to say Ross. It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
That's too confusing for everybody.
Because it's DC and they don't give a fuck.
More like, crap, people said it one way and we're going to try to say it the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've definitely backed themselves in a corner. Because you had like the original Batman series that was kind of like campy and fun and made jokes about itself. And then they did the whole serious Batman. So now they try to do this like new Matt Damon or whatever Batman. Not Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. I don't know. They're the same people to me.
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
And they just backed themselves in a corner, so now they don't know how to portray Batman anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the other things that we have on the list was that they had officially said Ben Affleck is leaving, but we're still doing The Batman is the name of the movie.
Wow.
But they haven't said anything about it, or if it's going to be tied into any leftover pieces of the DCEU.
Yeah. Batman's one of those, he's like James Bond. He can be different people. And there was that era in the 90s where it was like Val Kilmer and
he's three different people.
But to me, I know people had criticisms of each of them, but for me, like, it was fine. Like, they all brought something different to the table, but I feel like they're not being as careful with it anymore. I did think Ben Stiller, Ben
Matt
Affleck.
Damon.
Yeah, Matt Damon. I do think Ben Affleck made a good Bruce Wayne, though.
Yes. I'll definitely agree with that.
Like a good aged Bruce Wayne who's tired of everything.
I was kind of pissed about it because, like, at the beginning, I was like, "Great, we're going to have Ben Affleck for this character for the next 10 years," and I'm not happy with the casting. But at the end, I was like, he was not anywhere near the worst part of that movie, or those like the movies. And I was like, okay,
Just his reactions to things in the movie. Did you see that? There was like a video where they made fun of all of Batman's reactions in Justice League.
no, I'll have to look it up.
It's freaking hilarious. There's one point where they're about to fight that last dude, whatever, and something happened. Yeah, Steppenwolf, and something happens where like who is it? Somebody like jumps in, and Batman's like just like opens his mouth, but it looks like a cartoon character. Like he looked like a cartoon reaction, and it made me laugh so hard I farted. I had to check later.
My favorite, I think it was Batman v Superman, and I didn't think of this. Cracked did. I was watching one of their podcast things, and it was such a good point. That scene that's in all the trailers and it's in the movie too, where Wonder Woman shows up to the fight with Doomsday, and Superman and Batman like look at each other, and one of them's like, is she with you? I thought she was with you. It's like, if you watch the movie, spoilers, Batman literally emails Wonder Woman to come fight with them. So when that moment happens, like, this commentator on Cracked was like, if I were her, I'd be like, God, things are so weird now, I'm just gonna go home. Like, who emailed me to come here? Like, clearly.
Like, why did they focus? They focused on all the weirdest things.
Yeah.
Like who'd she come here with? Like, what does that matter right now? You have someone who's trying to, like, destroy the world.
Yeah.
And you're like, you make that as a joke.
Yeah. You're questioning someone also that you've met before.
Yeah.
Like, on several occasions.
There could have been way more funnier things there.
Yeah.
Or something more, like, in depth.
That movie was the worst. I'm sorry.
It was just
anyone who loves that
tossed
movie
around.
was just I
I
don't like the Snyder, the amount of darkness that he has in all those movies too.
Yeah.
Like with Superman being like a kind of more a very, very light and hopeful character.
Yeah.
Like,
The worst part is that I knew what they were trying to get to or
Yeah.
get at. That actually ruined it more for me because I saw where they were trying to head.
yeah, they're trying to get the Dark Knight Returns.
It'd have been better if I left that movie like I don't know what they were trying for.
Yeah, that's how I left it.
I wouldn't have been as disappointed. Like, damn, you really failed at that.
Yeah.
Well, we watched it in Tennessee with my brother.
That was cool. Yeah.
And my brother Peter is also a huge DC fan, and Vince is a DC fan. Rod, however, only knows Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, barely, And we saw it, and after it was over, I looked over at Vince and Peter. And I was like, "Was that good?" Because I couldn't follow anything. It was like 2 hours of Easter eggs. And
just a bunch of things like clobbered together.
And I forget if it was you or Peter, like, you were talking about, like, oh yeah, this thing tied into Injustice, this thing tied into this. And I was like, what's Injustice? And they're like, it's a video game. Like, why did I have to play a fucking video game to know the plot of this movie? Like,
It literally looked like they lined up a bunch of things, took a bat, and just smashed it into a wall, and that was what the movie was.
But then I kind of
pieces of what's left over.
Then I kind of got a little excited though, because
videotaped it.
I kind of got a little excited because I actually went and like checked out the Injustice game. I was like, yeah, Raiden's in this. So I was like, is Raiden gonna come to the DCEU? And they're like, no, not that part. I'm like, why would they take the worst part?
The best part. Raiden needs to be.
It's too much.
That's how they reset the DCEU. Like Raiden comes down, he's like, fuck this all.
Just kills everybody.
Start over because he does that in Mortal Kombat.
And then Flash is the one that goes back in time to save everybody.
That's the showdown I want to see at the end of one of the next Justice League movie. That's never going to happen. Is the Flash and Raiden having at it.
Just rewrite Flashpoint, and instead of the what is it called, the bad Flash, yellow
Reverse
guy.
Flash?
Instead of Reverse Flash, it's Raiden. If anyone's seen Flashpoint, it's actually a really cool movie.
That'd be a really great plot twist. That at this point, sure, that would work. It's not the worst thing in DCU.
It'd actually be more interesting.
The Flashpoint, the cartoon that DC does, it's the movie, is very, very good. In fact, DC does really good job with their like adult-ish like cartoons.
There was just recently 2 Superman movies they released that got crazy good ratings.
Most of the Batman ones are good. I just watched Arkham Asylum the other day.
Yeah.
That one was really good. And
what is it?
Killing Joke.
Killing Joke.
I haven't seen Killing Joke.
I saw that in theaters. Actually, they did some like special thing for it, and it was good. I liked it. They added like a front end to it, which was kind of weird. But besides that, it was
like
good.
extend the run time or something.
I don't know. Maybe to extend the runtime and to add storyline onto it. Like,
Gotcha.
It was part of the series.
Yeah.
Like the storyline.
It's
not the added the front end of it though. They added.
Yeah, it was something else.
Yeah.
It is sad that like kind of like Patty Jenkins said, like DC had like the Holy Trinity. They have like the thing that you can do anything with, and you couldn't really mess up unless you didn't care. And
you own every single one of your characters.
Yeah.
How on earth is there not someone in charge of keeping these characters like credible? You know?
Yeah.
Or trying to do things in series the right way.
And now it's come to like my sentiment about the DCEU in the film stuff is what Homer had a joke in a recent Simpsons episode where Gal Gadot makes like a cameo in The Simpsons, and he's like, where would I have known you from? And she's like, Fast and Furious, and she's like, what else? She's like, I was also Wonder Woman. You have to have seen that. And he was like, honestly, every time I see the DC logo, I just fall asleep. And I was like, that's kind of how I feel like.
It's tough to hear.
But it's so sad. I said, why is there not someone in charge of like plotting this stuff out? Because I feel like it, and I know that it's really more of like a money-based kind of thing with their choices. Because when they chose Affleck, they had straight up said like, hey, with Argo and everything else that he's done in the last year and a half, we've made this much money. He's the best choice. And I was like, that's not why you should be choosing him.
Yeah.
Like right now they talk about Feige is going to be choosing the next X-Men characters, specifically Wolverine, and so everybody's clamoring over who's going to be the new Wolverine character. Like Feige, I'm like scared, but like I know that he's probably going to choose someone that I'll be all right with.
I would love it to be a new face. I think that'd be the key. Like we just haven't seen anybody before, and then or at least not enough of somebody. Not well. I don't know. It's weird because that is one thing. Even though I hate the Fox X-Men, the one thing they did right is some of the iconic actors, like we mentioned before, like Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman and stuff, nailed it with like. Well, I guess Hugh Jackman wasn't that well known before this.
No, he wasn't in anything before this.
I knew
he was random. They had actually chose someone else, and they couldn't make it.
I knew him from Swordfish.
He wasn't in. Swordfish was after.
Was it?
Nope. Yeah, the only thing he had done was Broadway. He was in Oklahoma at the time.
He was in X-Men before he was in...
Yeah, he was in X-Men. Was his first movie.
X-Men was 2000, right? Or 2001?
1999.
Was it 99?
I'm pretty positive it was 99.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I got to look his discography. His music... I can't think of anything but music right now. Movie shit.
But I'm excited about whatever... I mean, I know it's probably going to be years before we see X-Men and MCU, but like...
Yeah, at least a few
I'm excited to see under the supervision. Because and how they're going to tie it in, because all the theories right now about like how the alternate realities and stuff are going to tie all this stuff in, it's going to be
where they're going to change the universe somehow or something.
Yeah,
some of those theories. X-Men is actually 2000.
Dang, yeah. And Swordfish was
probably 2001 or 2.
It was in the middle of college.
2001.
Yeah. We is old.
Like, I remember because I'd read, I don't know if it was Wizard or whatever magazines were going on in the 90s, that they had chose someone else, and I can't remember who that guy is. They had recently actually interviewed him, the guy that was originally chosen to be Wolverine.
Was it Sabretooth?
No, it's another guy, and he, you look at him now and you're like, whoa, I'm glad they didn't choose him. but he's like, I'm so happy. He's like, he obviously didn't do anywhere near as well as Hugh Jackman, but and in his career later, but like, he's like, I'm so happy they chose him because he did a really good job, basically, which is kind of a humble, cool thing for someone to say.
It's like the other Hemsworth brother.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like,
originally chosen.
You got to be Thor, but I married Miley Cyrus, so even?
Exactly.
I know, I like Miley Cyrus, so... it's funny because I was going to make a joke about Scarlett Johansson just replacing someone, and I noticed the next thing on our list was Black Widow's going to start filming.
Well, it was going to be originally Emily Blunt.
Really? Oh, so they're just not going to attach it at all to...
No, I mean, originally Black Widow was supposed to be Emily Blunt, and John Krasinski was in the running for Captain America. So that would have been weird.
That would have been weird, because he came off The Office and everything. Although,
I guess Blunt would have killed.
Yeah, I was actually
Widow,
kind of voting for her, but she was tied up in Gulliver's Travels at the time, so that exactly.
She did that weird movie with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise. That was really freaking awesome.
I've never seen it, but I've heard it's really good.
Repeating.
And I can't remember the title because they proposed 4 titles during the campaign for that.
There's 2 separate real titles for it. The Edge of Tomorrow was one of them,
Edge of Tomorrow.
And then Die Again Repeat, I think, is the other title.
And then it was No Daylight Tomorrow was the campaign or something like that.
Yeah, it was
I'm
so
getting that
weird.
wrong. Someone correct me in the comments or whatever is on this.
I heard it was good, though.
I played... Yeah. Oh, you didn't see it?
I haven't seen it, no. There's so many things I haven't seen, Rod. I have children.
Just keep that in mind, all you.
Keep that in mind. Don't watch any more nerd movies if you have children.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we talk about when we watch Netflix series, we tell Josh if they're kid safe.
Yeah.
So or even movies. Remember when we saw the first or second Captain America, the second Captain America movie? Maybe it was the first. I can't remember. I was like, Josh, take the kids. Literally, there's nothing. There's implications or stuff, but besides some gun violence and stuff, it's pretty clear. And then we're like, don't watch Jessica Jones in front of children.
Exactly.
Not even the intro, or anything. There's too many.
I hadn't even asked you guys because my wife isn't a big fan of sexuality and stuff in TV shows, and so you were like, no, Jessica Jones is fine.
Oh,
and it was
I didn't say
for
that.
the first
that was
3
probably
episodes.
me. Yeah.
I think it was you. I was like, okay, Angie, sorry.
What?
I had to apologize to her for that one.
That was so in season 2, I think, of Punisher is what's happening right now. There's an episode that I will say is so funny because Vince and I were watching it, and there's a scene. Was it Punisher? I think where he would just say something sad, and then they'd have sex, and then he'd say something. Yeah, it was. It's with the new girlfriend. So he'd literally just say something like, "My wife and kids died," and then it'd cut away to a sex scene, and then it'd come back and they're sitting there talking again. The music bed is still going, and he's like, "And that's when my best friend betrayed me," and then they go back to sex. And I remember looking at Vince like, "Wouldn't it be funny if this was 20 minutes of just cutting back and forth, and Vince was saying something sad and then having sex?" Yeah. And then it went on for another 6 minutes. So
it just kept happening.
You guys should do a video about it. It's hilarious.
It was really funny because it was I don't know who made that decision because it was the point was made and then 3 more times to where it was comedic because it was because he's in that emotional state where just that physical intimacy is kind of putting a Band-Aid on it for 10 minutes, but it was literally 10 minutes.
I hope they really push this Black Widow movie to the edge, though. Push the envelope on this one.
Well, they're wanting to there's obviously a group of people that want everything to be rated R.
I would love to be rated R.
I think it would be good with her, but not all characters. That would just make much sense.
Because she's an assassin, so
exactly.
It makes sense.
And what better than to see her really in action, you know? Because we kind of seen it.
Would it be an origin movie, or
I'm not sure if it's an origin movie or not.
I
mean, they kind of touched it a little bit.
Don't really have a
With the
possible
Red Room
tone
stuff.
or even
You'd be great.
what in the manner of this movie will be.
Which they've already started filming it.
Remember a couple.
Interesting. So I guess they have something.
Remember a couple years ago when SNL did the parody trailer for a Black Widow movie, and Scarlett Johansson was the guest on it. It was basically Sex in the City,
Yeah.
but
With Ultron being her love interest, wasn't it?
something like that. Yeah, and then somehow Meryl Streep's character from Devil Wears Prada, her boss or something, and I was like, You know, it's a joke, but I kind of see that happening.
Yeah.
Because remember the tagline? It's like, Marvel, we know what girls like too. But yeah, I don't know what they get into, but if they, I wonder what if like the success of Wonder Woman kind of like helped signal that they're like, oh, we could really show, you know, some strong women like cutting throats.
Yeah,
and it'll be cool, you know.
Well, I don't understand why they don't. To being a nerd, like, and knowing full well that they've had like super strong women in the past, like you take a look at Aliens, you know, like where we've had this for how many years now, and like everybody, any dude that I know like that loves these kind of movies are like, dude, she's badass.
Yeah.
In that movie. Like,
Eon Flux.
Yeah.
Like, Ultraviolet.
When are we going to bring Charlize Theron into the MCU?
I don't know if I'm completely for that. But
Really?
Yeah.
I love her.
She was she was in Hancock, remember?
I didn't see Hancock.
Yeah.
It had its funny parts.
I saw the trailer. I was like, I've seen this Will Smith movie before.
It had some funny parts. It definitely did, and
Yeah.
it could have been a lot better, but it was not amazing.
What did it feel like? The trailer made it feel like the dating movie that Will Smith was in with
Hitch?
yeah, except with superpowers.
No, he's like sad most of the time. He barely talks.
He's
Gotcha.
super depressed.
Yeah.
Sounds
The
great,
movie
guys.
is kinda
Good
depressing.
pitch.
And it came out around the time of I Am Legend, so it's like, wait a minute, are these
Oh,
the
yeah.
same two movies?
Right? Like at one point,
Plus iRobot?
at one point, like Will Smith was like The Rock. We're like, how did you physically film this many films this year?
Seriously.
We had the theory about The Rock, like he just shows up on a green screen, does a bunch of like key phrases, and then they just put him in the movies.
They just put a bunch of dots on him. They're like,
Yeah.
all right, we've got your likeness. We can computer animate everything else.
Dude, it's kind of a joke, but kind of.
Yeah, it's true.
Wow. Like, I hope the next Star Wars, we don't see too much Carrie Fisher.
Oh, gosh. I wonder,
That's
man.
so
Like,
weird.
because honestly, I'm not sure if I'm going to see that next Star Wars. Like,
Oh, really?
because of how much I despised The Last Jedi, and not for like the jerky idiot reasons. Like,
Yeah.
there's just so many. I was like, Abrams set so much stuff up, and then like, I felt like the other guy just took a dump on everything.
So, I don't have like a violent like anti-opinion to that because I know a lot of people don't like it. So I'm not one of those like, oh, you should have liked it. I just genuinely liked it. And when we got out of the movie, I was like, oh, instant classic. Like I loved it. And I actually kind of liked it that they subverted all the things from the first one. But at the same time, the next one could also subvert everything. It's like the Matrix. Remember how like the second one subverted all the first ones, and then the third one kind of like wrapped it up.
And the other two,
Like-
the two ones after the original one were absolutely awful. Yes.
But see, philosophically though, it was airtight. Like it got it kind of right. Like the idea of the construct of like the architect of there having to be an anomaly and stuff. Like it all worked, regardless of what you thought of the movie. I do remember though, because we were both in college when that second one came out. The second and third one came out.
Yeah.
When the second one came out, we all looked. They were like, Morpheus gave up. What? Like, but yeah, the what were we talking about?
Star Wars.
Star Wars. With Last Jedi, I know this really. I know it hurt like a lot of like Star Wars fanboys and then like super religious people. But I love that it ended with the sentiment that anyone could be a Jedi and it's not a special thing. It's just it was kind of like a control from the elite.
But
to
that was
make people believe.
antithetical to like everything, even in the movies. Like it just doesn't make any sense. And like my brother-in-law, like he was one of those dudes that read every single Star Wars book ever, and he was just like he was destroyed by that movie. But not just that movie. He didn't like the first one either.
Yeah.
Like when they killed off Han. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Han dies. But I wasn't so upset about that. I mean, and I guess Abrams is doing the third one too now.
Oh, good.
Like they,
I mean, I don't know. I dug it, but at the same time, like I don't have that strong of feelings about it. So I can imagine the feeling because we've established well into the first couple episodes how much I dislike the Fox X-Men and Storm and all that stuff.
yeah.
So I can empathize with it. It's just this particular sense I don't feel it. But
I feel like there's a lot of like jerkiness for reasoning why they didn't like the movies, but I don't think it has much to do with that crap. But that I didn't like it.
yeah.
It's just. Oof.
I wonder if they're gonna make a Nova movie.
I would love a Nova movie.
I know it's kind of out of left field right now, but
I thought that they were going to.
I was thinking about the phases again.
Yeah.
And you're right. Captain Marvel is the end of Phase 3.
Okay.
Avengers
Or
Endgame.
Endgame
Yeah.
is it's
Endgame
Captain
will be
Marvel,
the
then
end.
Endgame.
Yeah.
And then next
Spider-Man
Spider-Man starts
the
four.
first.
Yeah.
Well, like
What,
when
I'm
they were
excited,
doing
too, about Mysterio. Sorry,
No,
Mysterio. I'm really excited about. That's all.
oh, no.
Yeah, the new Spider-Man Academy.
Oh, I was gonna say for Nova.
Yeah,
When they had originally done the Guardians movie and they talked about having the Nova Corps in it,
Yeah.
I was like
Super
so
excited.
excited. I was like, well, who are they going to have?
Nova.
Ryder as
Or,
Nova?
yeah, Ryder.
And I was thinking, who could be awesome? And Nathan Fillion would have been freaking
Oh, yeah.
amazing as Richard Ryder. Like,
Huh.
they chose him later to be in.
I wonder what timeline. What was that?
Ryder's the original Nova, not
Yeah.
the new one, Alexander. But
Because
my kid loved all those comics, by the way. The
Yeah.
new Nova ones. That's what I got her on
And
originally.
Spider-Man too. Nova and Spider-Man. That cartoon's pretty good.
Oh yeah. But for what we're going at originally, the Nova movies, like with Fillion. Fillion was supposed to be in some like movie theater pictures or something of what was that movie? Gosh, it may have been Civil War. One of these not too long ago, one of the Marvel movies, Nathan Fillion was in like posters outside of like a movie theater as Simon Wonder Man.
Oh,
Like he was that character.
interesting.
Like he was kind of chosen. Like, ooh, look, it's an Easter egg, and then they completely wiped it from that movie. Like it was not even like a deleted scene. It
They're
was
like,
weird. I don't know. Maybe it was Guardians 2. It might have been Guardians 2. He was supposed because he's friends with James Gunn. That's
That
probably
makes
it.
sense.
So they even had pictures online of these movie posters. It could have also just been a Marvel left field thing too, where they were like, "Mate, watch, we'll throw this out here and see if somebody runs with it." So obviously there's a million YouTube videos like Wonder Man is Nathan Fillion is Wonder Man, like it's gonna be amazing,
Yeah.
I don't know, at this point, especially with what the MCU's done with like Brie Larson and stuff, I would love to see like lesser known actors like take the helms of these big, like even Chris Evans, man. Like we mentioned this before about not another teen movie to Captain America, but like man, they just prove like if you have the right casting, anybody can be these characters,
Which is why I don't like DC's normal.
Oh yeah, who's the biggest actor right now?
Ben Affleck, get him.
Yeah,
Like,
well, which is
Matt
funny.
Damon.
Which is funny because I
Matt Damon.
didn't necessarily feel like Ben Affleck was like the biggest at the time either. Like if they're going for like the highest.
He had done so well in Argo and all this other stuff, which he's a great writer, and I think he's a great actor. I love Ben Affleck, but I just, at the time, I was not seeing him as Batman, which again, like after seeing him as Batman, especially in the Justice League movie, that was not the worst part of that movie.
Yeah, it changed things a little bit.
Yeah.
I wish there was in some clever way to have him be Bruce Wayne and someone else be Batman. Because like he made a really good Bruce Wayne, like an old Bruce Wayne. Like,
Yeah.
Kind of how I felt about Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, even though those movies, I'm still like, he's still my favorite Spider-Man. Like he was
really?
amazing Peter for me, but like as soon as he was in the suit, like he wasn't really Spider-Man to me anymore. Like
the Raimi Spider-Man movies were great to me until the MCU came along, and then it was garbage. Like it was weird. It's like when you get out of your hometown and you're like, oh, look at this world. Like, I don't know. It was cool as a fond memory. It's like snow. That's a good example. Like, I will be happy if I never see snow again in person in my real life. But I love that it was a memory of my childhood. And so like,
now that you're in LA, no more snow.
oh yeah, definitely. Like right now, they're threatening like low 40s, maybe high 30s temperatures tonight. I'm freaking out. Like this is what I moved away from. And like. But the original Spider-Man movies, even the third one, as bad as it was still fine at the time. The second one, like, blew my mind. I love the
Second one is still my favorite.
But then Homecoming came along, I'm like, yeah.
I mean, like, I love Holland as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, like, he has got the best of everything, but I wish he would live in the universe from the first one. To be honest, because I love it. No, Aunt May being young annoys the crap out of me. Him having a talking suit annoys the crap out of me. Like, I'm sure that they seem to kind of like ignore that now, and I think they'll probably still continue to ignore the talking suit thing in the future. But
I don't know, because I think the talking suit, the two things that kind of made sense to me about it was if Tony Stark made it, then it's kind of like he's kind of like his thing, right? And then the second thing is like it was a clever way to let him talk to himself without making him seem crazy, because like in the comics, he's always narrating everything. So now he's like narrating stuff, but at least it's to something.
that makes sense.
But I kind of get that. Like, all that being said, though, I didn't want it to be, but Into the Spider-Verse is probably my favorite Spider-Man movie ever.
It is good.
I was like, I want to go into this being like, it's fine because it's Sony, and I want to love Homecoming more. But man, Into Spider-Verse was so good. Like they just got it.
I'm weirded out by like.
It was an original story.
Yeah.
That's what made it great.
And it made me mad too a little bit at myself because it was done by Sony, which historically seems to be doing not very much better than Fox.
Yeah.
With the characters or whatever, trying to make money out of them. But
They're still trying to figure it out too.
They're doing good making money. They're not doing great at pleasing the fans.
That's what I'm saying.
Because Venom is killing.
Yeah.
Even though it's not that great. That being said, the vibe that it is, I still enjoy it, but not for the reasons of it, not for it being good.
Yeah.
Like,
they would not have called it Venom and it'd been like sticky black character thing. Like everyone would have been like, "Oh, it's a pretty good movie for what it is."
well, I mean, also that being said, though, like I felt like this was Venom. Like I remember like reading Venom comics and stuff. That sarcastic tone when it happened on screen, I was like, that fit. What I thought. The only weird thing was no Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's
and
even though in the people like to argue that like, okay, he hasn't been a part of like Spider-Man for a very long time now, and it's like, well, I get that, but like this is where he came from. This is his origin. This is why he has the spider on the front of him. Like that's why he is because of Spider-Man. Like,
and that was a clever way they got rid of the spider logo. Was they just had the white veins, and I didn't even miss it until afterwards. And I paid attention. I was like, oh yeah. They did that. But the only disappointment with Venom was the censored violence, which seemed really weird to me. Because it's almost like, it's like
Venom.
Yeah, like
It's supposed to be that way.
it's kind of like if you go see like a Saw movie, and then they're like, "Oh, we made a PG-13." We're like, why? We know what we're getting into.
That's like well, Deadpool actually did it right, but they did it right after. Like, by making a PG-13 after they did the R.
Deadpool, yeah.
But if they did that first and then tried to do the R, I don't think it would have been as successful.
it definitely wouldn't have hit off as well.
Well, I think Once Upon a Deadpool was mainly because they would have had to make a censored version anyway for, like, TV and stuff.
Yeah.
So...
that was the way to do it, though.
Yeah, make fun of itself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it makes sense, though, because Venom was co-produced by Tencent, which I think is a Chinese company that, in social media, they're typically involved with gaming and, like, social media stuff. And not that it's the same as Japan, but kind of that, like, Asian businessman thinking. They were probably... the video I showed Vince last night about anime, they were talking about how sometimes anime is rushed for broadcast, but then fixed before like archival or something. And then there's one series that's so violent there's just straight up black bars and slashes across the screen, so you almost can't even see stuff. Like half of the screen will be blacked out.
They edited it so hard.
Yeah. And they said you almost can't tell sometimes you can't even tell what's happening in this thing. And they were like, the animators or the companies try to think of it as little ads for the home release. So I'm wondering if they took this similar effect for Venom. They're like, well, we'll get a higher box office, so we get PG-13 rating, and also it's like kind of every time they cut away from Venom snapping a head off, it's a little ad for like that DVD release.
Yeah, well, it's already. I mean, that went to DVD fast. Like that movie was like almost as fast as the movie from Justin to Keller.
Oh yeah.
It went from like in the theaters to a month and a half later on the shelves. But like, I don't know about Venom, but like it was probably 2.5 months and it was on the shelves.
Because when did Venom actually come out? Because they came on home release in the middle of January.
I don't know. Google, our newest host, Google Assistant, will tell us.
Right. I'm on the Panera Wi-Fi and it's super slow. So.
Okay. Opening day for Venom. When did it open? Opening date, maybe October 7th.
So October, November. So about like 3 months. Maybe?
Yeah.
So it's still kind of close though.
Venom DVD release date. December 18th.
Oh wow, December?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I guess we probably. I wonder if that was for the holiday.
I'm sure they wanted to get it before Christmas, but
I'm gonna try not to out some. So we work in YouTube stuff a lot. So one of our YouTube friends, I've actually several YouTube. So I don't even have to individualize this. Several YouTube friends got offers to do brand deals with the Venom movie, and the funny thing is, to paraphrase, to not break any NDAs, the only requirement that Sony gave to any creators doing the brand deal was that it cannot be about how bad the movie is. Is the only requirement they gave every creator for the brand deals. The video just could not be about how bad the movie was.
you know what I would do? I would, because kids are freaking crazy with slime nowadays in those stupid videos, like, making glue slime or whatever it is, like Gak. I would have done like, Venom Gak, and that would have been it.
Ooh. Actually,
It's not a bad idea.
Someone did a thing where they sculpted Venom's head out of the magnetic, ball bearings.
Oh, that's cool.
And then took magnetic slime and built, his head. If you haven't seen that yet, go look it up. It's like Venom magnetic slime or something.
I'm going to watch that.
It's
now.
really cool because it looks like Venom because it adheres to the magnetic beads because of how magnetized it is, but it's still slime, so it's still oozing and it looks very real. So they used black and white and silver slime, I think. They gave him teeth. It was wild.
That's crazy.
But that's kind of like that, except it wasn't necessarily Gak.
We coming up on an hour?
Yeah, so on that note, join us next time for whatever else is on this list that we didn't get to.
Exactly.
And I'm excited to talk about Phase 4 and maybe our predictions for what movies will be in Phase 4.
Oh, there's so many people, and there's already people making tons of videos on that stuff too.
I'm looking at this thing now, like the next Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, that's definitely at least.
Ooh, so a little hint, a little teaser for
Illuminati.
Yeah, that's already.
little teaser
No,
for
Eternals.
everybody. Little teaser for everybody that made it to the end of this podcast. We'll name the next podcast like a really obviously fake theory for the Phase 4, and try to play it up as true as possible at the beginning. We'll clickbait the crap out of this podcast, but you'll know because
I
you
heard
listened
this
all the
person's
way.
gonna be Wolverine.
Right, you listened all the way. So
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon's Wolverine. That's going to be the next podcast, so stay tuned. If you don't know already, Vince and I have a band called RKVC. You can find us on all the music platforms. Also, our YouTube channel. If you search RKVC, you'll see two guys in red shirts, black vests. And Josh has a band's life.
My band's life, which I interview bands about how they're surviving the music industry, and my kids have Nerd Schmerd, where they just talk about nerdy stuff, kind of like this, only with two, like a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old doing it.
And sometimes an infant.
It's true, and sometimes the baby.
So thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Leave good ratings, I guess. I don't know how podcasts work.
Yeah, they do the ratings sometimes on Apple. Yeah,
Sweet,
Apple
do that.
ratings. Sign up on your favorite podcast app,
Yeah.
like Stitcher.
And if you're listening to this later on, comment on some things that you'd like us to discuss.
That's true. Like that's probably the best thing they could do for little podcasts like us is give us feedback. What were you bored? Did you want us to talk about something else?
Would you like that? A generated podcast via your comments?
Should
Or
we just...
I know we keep talking about video, we should do video or something, but
Yeah.
that's gonna be a lot of work. But if everybody really wants that, maybe we could put in the work. I don't know.
Or we could just do nerd ASMR, where we just say MCU character's name in a really soothing voice.
No, that doesn't work.
Pastrami. Wait, that's meat.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Bye.